So we all know that passion is what gets social change off the ground, right? It's the spark. But what happens when that spark isn't enough to keep the fire going? Today, we're going to dig into how you move beyond just having good intentions and actually build a powerful, repeatable system for making a real, lasting difference in the world.
All right, let's dive right in. And we're going to start with a story that I think is going to feel very familiar to anyone who's ever tried to change the world with, well, not a lot of resources.
Okay, so picture this. A small group of people in Nashville. They are super passionate about sustainability. I mean, they want to tackle everything. Waste, pollution, the whole shebang. They decide to start with something that seems pretty manageable, promoting recycling and reuse. A simple, solid place to begin.
But here's the kicker. Here is the reality check. Their entire starting budget, which they scrape together from their own pockets and a few friends, is just $1,500. Let that sink in. $1,500. That is everything they have to get this massive dream off the ground.
And it's not just the money. They're up against all the classic hurdles. How do we even find funding? How do we get anyone to pay attention when there's so much noise out there? And maybe the biggest question of all, how do we actually prove that what we're doing is making a difference? These aren't just their problems. These are the struggles every changemaker faces.
So what do you do when passion and good intentions run smack into a wall? Well, the idea we're exploring today says the answer isn't just to try harder, it's to think smarter. It's about finally stopping all the improvisation and starting to build an actual system.
And this right here is the heart of it all, a social innovation system. Think of it like going from a passionate garage band that's just winging it to a full-on orchestra. You're moving away from these informal, gut-feeling jam sessions to a structured, repeatable process that can create something truly powerful. I absolutely love this quote. It just perfectly connects the dots between that raw passion and a smart strategy. See, the system isn't here to replace your passion. Not at all. It's designed to channel it, to give it a roadmap, so that all that emotional energy you're pouring in actually gets the results you're dreaming of.
So what does this system actually look like? How do you build it? Well, let's break it down into 3 core mindsets, or pillars, that really anyone can learn and start using. So pillar number 1 is strategic thinking. And I want to be super clear about this. This is not about writing some 50-page business plan that you stick in a drawer and forget about. No way. This is a living, breathing process. It's like your own personal navigation system that's constantly helping you figure out where you are, where you're going, and how to stay on track.
The key thing to get here is that strategy is an action word. It's something you do. You're constantly scanning what's going on in the world. You're using simple tools like a SWOT analysis, and you're actually looking at the research. For our team in Nashville with their tiny budget, this isn't some academic thing. This is survival. It's how they make sure every single one of those precious dollars is aimed at the right target.
All right, pillar number 2, creative thinking. But again, this is not what you might think. This isn't about sitting around waiting for some magical lightning bolt of inspiration. It's about building a process to actively, intentionally generate new and better ideas.
Okay, now what is so cool about this is the very first point. You see it? Steal ideas. This totally reframes what creativity is. It's not always about inventing something from scratch. It's about being a smart adapter. See a great marketing campaign from some big company? Figure out how to adapt its structure for your cause. And then there's design thinking, which is just a fancy way of saying you need to deeply understand the people you're trying to help and then build solutions with them. It's all about looking outside your own little bubble.
And that brings us to our final pillar, the one that kind of ties it all together, scientific thinking. This is all about grounding your work in reality, in facts, in logic, in evidence, to make damn sure your efforts are actually working.
And look, you do not need a PhD in statistics for this. This is about a mindset. So instead of just assuming your new fundraising idea is gonna work, you treat it like a hypothesis. You test it on a small scale. You use real data to understand the problem. It's really the difference between guessing and knowing, and it can stop you from pouring all your limited time and money into a hunch that's leading you right off a cliff.
Okay, so we've got our 3 mindsets: strategic, creative, and scientific. Now let's get really practical. How do these big ideas translate into actual tools you can use, like tomorrow, to turn your ideas into real impact?
First things first, you have to accept that you are competing in a marketplace of ideas.
It doesn't matter if you're asking for donations, for volunteers, or for people to change their behavior. You have to sell your cause. And that means you have to know your audience inside and out and be crystal clear about what's in it for them.
And that leads us to a phrase that, I know, can sometimes make activists a little uncomfortable: cost-benefit analysis. But hang on, this isn't about being some cold, heartless corporation. It's about being a responsible guardian of your resources. Every single dollar, every hour of a volunteer's time, that's a sacred trust. And this is how you make sure it all counts.
And this is a perfect illustration of what that looks like in the real world. When you actually sit down and lay out all your activities and tally up the real costs, and that includes staff time, volunteer hours, all of it, the results can be shocking. I mean, look at that July 4th party. It might feel like a huge success, but is it really the best use of 200 hours of labor and $1,500? This kind of simple analysis gives you the hard data you need to make smart decisions.
Okay, one last really crucial piece to this puzzle. Building a great system isn't just about the new things you start doing. It's also about recognizing the common thinking traps you have to learn to avoid, the ones that can completely sabotage all your hard work.
And two of the absolute deadliest are right here: the sunk cost fallacy and the genetic fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy, oh man, we've all been there. It's when you keep pouring time and money into a project that just isn't working simply because you've already invested so much. You just can't let go. And the genetic fallacy is a little sneakier. That's when you dismiss a perfectly good idea, like a marketing tactic, just because you don't like where it came from, maybe the corporate world. Both of these will stop a great cause in its tracks.
So, as we wrap all this up, I want to leave you with this one big question. We all agree that passion is the fuel for change. It has to be. But fuel by itself, without an engine, just makes a big, flammable mess. So the question is your system, your strategy, your creativity, your analysis, is it a powerful enough engine to take all that passion and turn it into real forward momentum? Something to think about.